Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast. We're now in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, sponsored by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things for people in San Diego County. Going to be joined by my associate producer and frequent co-host, Sophia. How are you doing there, Sophia?
I'm doing good, thanks.
So you're heading out to Berkeley when?
August 20th, I move in.
Are you excited?
Yeah, a little.
And what are you going to be majoring in?
I'm going to be double majoring in psych and film.
Is that okay? Very, very good. We are so pleased to have in the studio with us today Kate Murphy. She's a reporter for Axios San Diego. How you doing, Kate?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
So talk about Axios San Diego. What is it? It's a communication vehicle? Is it a news outlet? Is it all of the above?
Yeah, I would say it's certainly both of those things. So we launched our daily, it's a local newsletter at its core. And we also, have a website and publish stories live to the web. But basically a weekday newsletter telling everybody what the biggest stories of the day. And we launched 2 years ago. And it's a kind of a mix of, you'll read everything from politics to sports, new restaurant openings, and a little bit of our personalities written in there too.
So is there a print version or only online?
Strictly online.
Okay.
And then it's on weekdays, email directly to your inbox. So yeah.
Right. So are you a journalism major? Did you get a J degree?
Yep. Yeah. I graduated from Elon University. I was a journalism major.
Is that North Carolina?
Yep. North Carolina.
Oh my God. I can't wait to tell my buddy that there's somebody on the show who was from Elon. That's wonderful.
Wow. Yeah. Loved it. I played soccer there actually. So that's what originally drew me to the school and found journalism. The journalism program there was incredible lift off for my career. So yeah.
So then when did you start? Was it before Axios? Did you have some journalism beforehand?
So my first real journalism job was at the Cincinnati Enquirer. So I moved out there, was a breaking news reporter, and then started covering higher education.
Is that a Gannett paper?
Yes, it is.
Okay, right.
Yep. So worked at the Cincinnati Enquirer, was higher education reporter, and worked on the investigative and storytelling team, and then moved back to North Carolina, where I was at the News and Observer in Raleigh.
That's a great paper.
Yeah, it was great years there. I was the higher education reporter there, covering a lot of politics and education, kind of go hand in hand in North Carolina. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I was there for about 4 years and then moved out here. And it was perfect timing with Axios launching in San Diego. And so, jumped at the opportunity. I had seen the product in Raleigh, actually, that two of my former colleagues and good friends launched the newsletter in Raleigh. So I kind of got to see what it looked like in the community and the news that it could deliver. And so, when they announced that they were coming to San Diego, I was excited to be part of that.
So Axios launched in 2017. Was it home based in North Carolina?
No. So the national Axios was actually founded. It's headquartered in Arlington, Virginia. Okay. So the national focus was certainly on national politics, right. And covering the White House, Congress, and a lot of business and technology coverage as well. And then they sort of launched Axios Local, and we're now in, I want to say, 32 cities across the country. They kind of took their smart brevity model of, delivering bite-sized kind of news of what people need to know and make that happen by hiring, experienced local reporters to kind of bring that, to the local level.
Yeah. So how's Axios funded?
So we're, I guess I'm not sure exactly, but there's a few different
You're a reporter.
models.
You're not on the business side.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Business and editorial definitely keep things separate. But
right. They try to.
we do have paying members that, help.
So memberships.
Memberships is certainly a revenue vehicle. We also, sell ads and have corporate sponsors for things. So, yeah.
Does the Arlington area work sort of as a base for national advertising? And so if you're getting some, car dealer or whatever the case may be, or a bank or whatever, do they do that and it benefits all of the other?
Yeah. So there certainly are, partnerships and advertising at the national level. And then there are also like regional and local, people who work here that can, we have like catered local companies and advertisers and events sponsoring in San Diego.
Yeah, Sophia?
Yeah, so you mentioned before that this is a national company, but that you guys operate at the local level. I know that for some people, they really like to watch national news, get all the big headlines, but what's the benefit of catering to a community and watching community journalism?
Yeah, I mean, I think, myself and Andrew Keats, who's my partner, like we live in this city and the issues that we're writing about are impacting us as people, and so it's cool to be able to, base a lot of our reporting on how we're living our own lives and being so integrated in the local community to help share what issues are impacting us, our neighbors, and, the region as a whole, while also being able to kind of pull in a lot of times the biggest national stories and zoom in on kind of what that looks like in San Diego.
Right. So are all of the folks working for Axios, whether it's San Diego or throughout the country, all journalism majors or former reporters or a mix of whatever?
Yeah. So everyone who writes the daily newsletter is a reporter. Most are I don't know. I'm sure that most went to journalism school.
Right.
Most of the reporters have been, living and working in their cities as journalists for decades or years at least, and are kind of like the local experts on, the biggest issues of that city.
Yeah, we're chatting with Kate Murphy. She's a reporter for Axios San Diego. I'm Drew Schlosberg, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, joined by my co-host and the associate producer of the Spotlight on the Community Show, Sophia Lee, a budding, award-winning filmmaker already at such a young age. Will be going to UC Berkeley, this fall. Well, since I got my journalism degree, probably way before your grandparents were born, but at San Diego State, and I got a master's there as well. I love to hear this stuff. And I think it's great to have real journalism, real news reported on this. Do you folks have editors that look at your stuff locally, or do you send it nationally and they review it? How's that go?
Yeah, so we have, so the two of us, honestly, peer edit a lot of the stuff that we do. Andy was a longtime reporter and editor at Voice of San Diego and certainly has the management and editing chops there.
Right.
And then we do have an individual editor. They're regionalized, so our editors edit a couple different cities, whether it's Phoenix or San Francisco, Seattle, Portland, and the same works across the country, kind of in different regions, and have like a tiered structure for that editing.
Right. Obviously, they're depending on you because you guys have the, as you said, the local chops, so to speak, in this, and somebody who may be in a different region wouldn't know it. San Diego, you've been here how long now?
I've lived here for 3 years now.
3 years. San Diego, as you have found out, I'm sure, that it is the smallest big town in the history of humankind, 8th largest city in the country, but we don't act like it sometimes. I don't mean that in a negative way, just who we are, and in some ways, I'm sure Raleigh even seems bigger than San Diego. And that, has that made it easier for you to be a reporter or more difficult, or doesn't really matter?
Yeah, I mean, I think to some degree, because this county is it's diverse, but there are certainly pockets and people are very engaged in their own neighborhoods and communities. And I think that's a really important thing to identify and highlight and offer that context in our reporting. It's certainly a great place to try to build relationships and kind of see, what people care about at the at the local level, while also, engaging on a bigger, at the news that's happening at statewide or at the Capitol or, in Washington.
Exactly. Sophia?
It's funny that you mentioned how people are more engaged at the local level because they feel like it's affecting them. A lot of times I hear people say, this election, what is it really going to change my life? It's not going to do anything to me. So when you take national matters and start reporting them at a local level, zooming up for people to see how we're affected by this, do you feel like that's good for the people? It helps them actually connect to the national news and how it affects them locally?
Yeah, I think that's one of the most essential parts of localizing these national issues. Obviously, everyone across the country is going to be affected by some issue, whether it's, for example, the federal spending bill, right? But how that looks in each community is vastly different. And I think that's something that we really try to communicate in our stories up front is like why this matters to you and how it might impact San Diego County or the city itself. And whether it's using data to back that up and see how it might play out here. And just, try to tell people, okay, what this big national thing happening actually means for you in your day-to-day life.
Yeah, it's a great question, Sophia, and you're spot on that, Kate. And recently, this spending bill has had pretty big impact on some of the groups I work with, mainly the Classroom of the Future Foundation. We work with all 43 school districts, and UT. I think Voice covered it too, and maybe you guys did as well. And Axios, they actually broke down how each of the 43 districts are going to be losing money, and by district. And, San Diego County has got some very small districts that $25,000 is a major hit. And in some, it's just an accounting area on that. When you go ahead, do you guys do any editorials at all, or is it pretty much straight news?
No, it's straight news. I guess you could count some of our editorializing as like our, communications and about a restaurant we might have visited or, sure. My favorite cocktail bar right now or things like that. But
which is where?
Right. Well, I just was at Starlight, which just kind of revamped itself and wonderful cocktails, a great atmosphere.
And where's that?
Right in sort of like, near the airport, kind of like Middletown.
Sure.
Yeah.
Starlight. Okay.
Yeah,
that may have to be the official, cocktail lounge of Cloudcast Media. We'll have to talk to our CEO about that.
It's a cool spot.
Right. We come back from break. I want to talk a little bit more about, the audience. Is it growing? What does the audience look like, and so forth? And are you looking for more reporters that'll be working with you at Axios? And do you take freelance reporters as well? So think about those questions when we return with Kate Murphy, reporter for Axios San Diego. I'm Drew Schlosberg. I'm Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest-running community podcast in our 19th year. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things in San Diego County, food insecurity. They also work literacy programs throughout the state, and the region, I should say. And, you name it, involved with visual performing arts. Just a great community organization. They really put a lot of time and effort behind their support of what is important in San Diego and to San Diegans. Joined by my co-host, Sophia Lee. She's the associate producer of Spotlight on the Community, and we will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. Thrilled to have in the studio with us today Kate Murphy, a reporter for Axios San Diego, joined by an associate producer of the Spotlight on the Community Show, Sophia Lee, who also acts as a phenomenal co-host. We talked right before break, Kate, do you use freelance writers as well? I know there's two of you sort of on the team here, but are you bringing in other folks to contribute?
Yeah, not at the moment. Andy and I write the newsletter each day. We do have, we'll share content from national reporters across Axios, or, we've partnered with reporters in San Francisco at Axios San Francisco. So for like statewide things, but we haven't. That's not really in our purview right now.
Yeah, right. There's so much to cover. I mean, So do you sit down with Andy and say, we're going to lay this out. Here are going to be the topics today, tomorrow, or whatever, or do you get that from national?
No, it's fully generated by us. They kind of trust us to know what people are talking about, what the biggest issues of our city are. We chat each morning, basically, and decide, what's going to go in the newsletter for the next day, and also have, general planning meetings of, big events coming up, or, how we want to tackle key issues that we know are coming down the pipeline, or, happening now, and what that can look like.
Right. So you were in Cincinnati covering education. Then you went to Raleigh to do the same. Now you're in San Diego. Certainly education is part of it. How different are those metro areas compared to San Diego and what they're covering?
Yeah, I would say, quite different. It's interesting because when I was at those newspapers, I was very focused on an individual issue, and now I'm writing about restaurants, sports, politics, city government, all types of things. And so it's been a great opportunity just to kind of be exposed to all these different issues and have the chance to write about it. I would say, it was interesting coming from Raleigh, which is the state capital, and state politics really drives a lot of the coverage there. And here, it's kind of a very different story.
It's very different.
Of like the connection to the state government and the governor's office and what's happening in Sacramento. So that has certainly been an adjustment, but we do see just based on our readership, people do care about what's happening up there. I just think we have to be able to tell it in a way that shows, how it impacts them. So
do you guys do any metrics on the demographics? What is the age of your audience? How much is your audience? Can you track that? And are you tracking it?
Our company is certainly tracking it,
right.
And we're looking at what stories, readers care about at a daily basis of, page views and that sort of thing.
Right.
And what people reply to our newsletter about, that's always a fun way to engage with our readers and just, hear from them directly. We're growing our audience and are trying to find new ways to do that. And
Good, Sophia.
So I know that with this media renaissance, kind of with all this new technology coming out and TikTok, Instagram, you can just scroll through everything. Do you find it harder to keep an audience's attention? Because I know that a lot of kids my age, unfortunately, our main source of news is TikTok, podcasts. I read something. That means that you watched it in a video. So how do you plan to sort of access this new demographic that has to be entertained?
Yeah.
Great question, Sophia.
I would say, so our core product is a daily emailed newsletter, and I think that's kind of the model that our leadership has seen the engagement in, and now we're doing certainly a lot more reporting to get things online quickly. And some of our cities do have Axios San Francisco, for example, has an Instagram. Axios has an Instagram. A few other, they're kind of looking at how social media can be incorporated into that. And I think it's, it's a great way to engage a younger audience. I would say that, our core audience is aimed at smart professionals who, live busy lives and want to just tell me what I need to know quickly. And I think our style of writing really helps target that audience by giving you, exactly what you need to know and certainly not any close to anywhere near long form. And so it's trying to, keep things short and sweet and just give the essential information and looking at different ways to share that. Certainly not yet in San Diego on the social platforms, but in other cities they are.
So somewhat of a USA Today model, when that came out, we used to call it Mick Paper, but they were very innovative, to say the least, and they only had one story that jumped, and that was all this stuff being a journalist. But it was an interesting model. It was a commuter paper. So you only had it for the time you were on the train or whatever the case may be, or the subway or something in that. Is you're someone consumable like that, or you keep your stories down to X amount of words for the most part?
Yeah, we definitely have, each story kind of can lend itself to a different length.
Right.
But our goal is to, keep it as write only as much as you need. And, it's writing short is writing confident. And I think that's a big part of how we try to approach a story is, if you can speak directly to the reader as if you're telling somebody, just what they need to know, whether it's at the kitchen table while you're, commuting or at a cocktail party. That's kind of the, we can lose a lot of the fluff, I think, a lot of times. And certainly then provide, context that's nuanced. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do is make things as succinct as possible to just not waste people's time with a lot of fluff, and also then link out if they want to learn more, to other coverage that, that the Union Tribune is writing, or Voice of San Diego might be writing, or KPBS, and share that content, which we do daily in our newsletter. Is, obviously we're two people in a pretty big city trying to cover every issue is impossible. And so, we try to find every day we're sharing what other journalists are writing in the city that we think is valuable and worthy of our readers' time.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that. Again, we're chatting with Kate Murphy. She's the reporter for Axios San Diego. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit and joined by my co-host, Sophia Lee. I'm really glad to hear that because I think it's so important to make sure that all the media, whatever, it's the Union Tribune or its Voice or something in between, are being connected, even the broadcast stations for that matter. I think it's good to have different voices, and sometimes you need an elongated story. We all know that. You know that better because you did that in Cincinnati and Raleigh as well. And I think we were just chatting about it with Jane Lee beforehand. Jane is the chairwoman for UCSD's Asia Pacific Islander Alumni Council, but she's a news maven, so to speak. She was on Channel 6 and so forth and is heavily involved. And I think the importance of it is just making sure there's good communication out there and really using the facts, having grown up with that, and when I was going to school, and you were too, and you got your degree at Elon, more on the print side or on the broadcast side?
Yeah, I was a print journalism major. I majored in journalism and political science. Yeah,
well, it goes hand in hand. What advice would you give for folks like Sophia, who's obviously very, very bright and is well read, depending on whatever the device is in that aspect of it, as she's going to UC Berkeley on keeping up with the news? What would you say you should be aware of and keep track of?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is finding trustworthy sources. And so often, like you were saying, Sophia, what people are fed on social media that, I read that here, but no, it wasn't a video, or it's, just from somebody commenting on media and not from the direct source itself. And, I think it's more important than ever for news outlets and media organizations to build that community trust and so that people know that they're getting a product that's accurate and fair and, which is just critical now because we're just inundated with information and it's really hard to sift through. And it's hard to keep people engaged, but going to, reputable sources, I think, is just critical.
I think for me, again, a lot older than everybody around here, but and the journalism we were trained to do and then did do, and then I went over to the dark side. I went over to the business side, but the reporter still talked to me, so that was nice because I know I had a little bit of street cred based on that. It's so different, and if somebody did something that was wrong or illicit or false, it was called out, and we still do that. Jeff McDonald and I worked pretty closely together. Jeff's one of the top investigative reporters in the country. I'm happy to report. Some of my friends wouldn't think so, just because they're in his target. But as a great investigative reporter for the Union Tribune, but it's so important. And that's the whole premise of, the print journalism and broadcast journalism, for that matter, is to keep an eye on this aspect of it. Do you feel like you guys are doing that? Do you have a chance to do that, time to do it? Because you are sort of limited on space and words. Yeah,
I think it's certainly something that we're striving for to hold leaders accountable, and we just have a different format to tell that same story. And so, at the end of the day, our reporting is based in finding the facts and getting, behind like why this is really happening. And also, holding leaders accountable. And I think we do have the opportunity to do that. We just have to be a little more creative in how we tell that story with this format and make the space for it.
Yeah, and because I think, there's something that has shifted, much to my chagrin and maybe other, folks that grew up in journalism and so forth. That is, it's okay to lie. No, it's not okay to lie. It's not okay to give this information to people who may be making some reactions and decisions, whether it's economic-based or whatever, on something that is completely false. And I think we need to find a way to sit there and correct that. And if Axios is working that way, and you are, I think we need 4 billion more Axioses and the Union Tribunes and those who are, saying this is what we're here for. This is what we need to do. It's incumbent upon us, for the young folks like Sophia Lee, to be confident that this information they're going, is pretty trustworthy. You may disagree with it, which is different on this. One of my favorite topics, and maybe you can address this too. I might have brought it up earlier today. One of the things we used to do in my role running community and public relations for the newspaper was to give tours at the UT. Back in the day when the presses were running was really cool, but those days are over. But we still give tours of the paper. And I always ask the question of the audience, whether it was adults or whether it was young students or kids in K through 12, how do you define false news? They couldn't define it. And what it's come down to is if you agree with something with that, if you disagree, it makes it false. Not true. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think, our job, we're like professional question askers, and right. So it's like we're in a position to, ask anyone questions and try to get actual answers from people. And I think it's also our job that when we get an answer from whether it's an elected official or, some organization who's like, obviously their job is to promote what they're doing, or that, they want to share this news, but we have to, one, verify that and be responsible journalists to not just, share what they're saying without actually looking into it. And I think, that's certainly something that I think a lot of journalists can get caught up in, of just like, oh, this, using a statement from someone without really looking into it. And I think, we try to kind of cut a lot of that out and just tell people, here's what's actually happening. And yeah, it's essential to actually get to what the truth is and not just, share what people are saying about it.
Well, I think that's great. I love to hear this stuff, and all my former journalism friends love to hear that stuff too. And good for you folks who are doing it. We can't do it enough. We got to have the, pedal to the metal on this, and really just wishing you guys just nothing but great success. Hopefully you're going to grow your presence here in San Diego and throughout the county. We need this. We hear a lot about news deserts, which you're very familiar with. And Sophia, I'm not sure if you know what that is, as a lot of the newspapers, go ahead and fold, whether it's community papers or some of the major papers. they're not getting their news. And that is tough stuff. So it's creating these news deserts, and they're working with groups, whether it's Axios or whether it's libraries, to do that. What can our listeners do to support your efforts besides read you guys?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely the number one thing. It's a free daily newsletter, so it's easy enough to sign up. Just Axios San Diego. And we do have members who are paying members, so that's certainly, that helps us grow and thrive as an organization to be able to do more of the great work that we want to be doing and help, grow the local journalism community in San Diego.
That's good. Well, listen, would love to have you come back on, and I can talk about journalism forever, obviously. Maybe think about maybe next time you're on, bringing in somebody that is, really loves this type of journalism. Maybe not necessarily somebody gets in the field or someone that you cover as well. Kate Murphy, a pleasure meeting you. She's a reporter for Axios San Diego. Sophia Lee, always a great job having you as my co-host. I'm Drew Schlosberg, and you've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show. We are the nation's longest running community podcast in our 19th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. 6 decades of doing great things for folks living in San Diego County, and we hope you enjoyed the interview.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.